All right, Sandra, Michael Oren is the former Israeli ambassador to the United States. He's a good friend of this program, and he joins us again now on this auspicious occasion. Mr. Ambassador, always great to spend time with you. So phase one now is partially complete. We still have the remains of deceased hostages that have yet to be returned to their homeland, but already sights are turning to phase two. How optimistic are you that phase two can be completed?
Well, always good to be back. Thank you for hosting me. Guardedly optimistic. Guardedly because on one hand, Hamas is a terrorist organization. Jihad is in its DNA. It's not going to give up its guns any more than, Al-Qaeda and ISIS would give up its guns, not easily. And Israel doesn't have much of a military option right now. The Israeli army has pulled back as Palestinian civilians have moved back into northern Gaza. So Hamas has a human shield once again. But there are a number of tools at the disposal of President Trump and his team to put pressure to bear on Hamas. They can cut off all cash supplies, all arms supplies. They can cut off Hamas's ability to steal humanitarian aid, which was absolutely crucial. Hamas would steal 60% of all the humanitarian aid and then resell it at grossly inflated prices and get enriched. They can squeeze them. And Hamas is also being attacked now, attacked by clans and militias who hate Hamas, who blame it for bringing destruction onto the Palestinians of Gaza. And Hamas, it's interesting, has executed more than 30 people, Palestinians, in the last 24 hours, which shows that Hamas is under duress and Hamas is afraid.
So the president talked about the promise of what the Middle East could be if this issue is finally settled. Here's part of what he said yesterday.
The Middle East is finally ready to embrace its extraordinary potential. You have extraordinary potential in this region. It should now be clear to everyone throughout the region that decades of fomenting terrorism and extremism, jihadism and anti-Semitism have not worked. They haven't worked. They've been a disaster.
So many nations in the region, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, are looking forward to a different future. Do you get a sense that they're fed up with Hamas and that they could collectively bring to bear the pressure necessary to get Hamas to lay down its arms and get out of Dodge?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was a sort of a conventional wisdom in the mainstream media in this country that the 20 points that were forged by President Trump and his team was a result of pressure put by President Trump on Netanyahu. When the reality was, it was a result of pressure put by President Trump and his team and Arab leaders on Hamas, because they fed up. Hamas brought destruction and instability throughout the entire Middle East. What starts in Gaza doesn't stay in Gaza. It spreads to the streets of Cairo and Riyadh and Doha, and they realized that and they were fed up with this, and it had to come to an end. There was always this conventional wisdom that Israel's attempt to eliminate the heads of Hamas in Doha, the capital of Qatar, had infuriated Trump, and he had pressured Netanyahu. No, excuse the colloquialism, it freaked out the Qataris and got them to say, okay, enough is enough. And that's where the pressure has come from Arab leaders generally, in particular from the backers of Hamas in Qatar and in Turkey.
Of course, the other big piece of this puzzle is Iran. And the president, in his speech before the Knesset, held out something of not an olive branch, I wouldn't say. That's probably going too far. But the offer of negotiations and changing the whole position of Iran in the global community of nations. Listen here.
There's nothing that would do more good for this part of the world than for Iran's leaders to renounce terror, stop threatening their neighbors, quit funding their militant proxies, and finally recognize Israel's right to exist. And to Iran, and as you know, this is not said out of weakness. There's no weakness. But I'm going to say this, that we are ready when you are, and it will be the best decision that Iran has ever made.
Do you think, Mr. Ambassador, that could ever happen under the current regime?
Under the current regime, it would be unlikely, but that regime is very, very fragile right now. It's shaking, and we don't know. Iran and Israel had excellent relations up to the Iranian Revolution in 1979. The Iranian population is pro-Western. I think it actually has good feelings toward Israel, and that relationship can be restored, perhaps not under this regime, certainly not under its current leader, under Khamenei, who is now 86 years old. And so there's definitely hope. I very much subscribe to the president's optimism here.
All right, great. Ambassador, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.